Welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending the Street Transportation Department's virtual public meeting about the Thomas Road from 48th Street to 56th Street proposed travel lane and bike changes project. If you'd like to listen to this meeting in Spanish, we do have a Spanish translation line. Elsie Duarte will be our translator tonight. Elsie, please introduce the information in Spanish.
Muy buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos a la reunión de hoy. Para las personas que desean escuchar la reunión en español, tenemos las instrucciones en el chat. El número es el 602-543-1000. Después puede introducir el número de reunión seguido por el símbolo de número 40392 y el símbolo de número. Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone for joining us today. My name is Vivian Padilla, and I am a Public Information Officer with the City of Phoenix Street Transportation Department, and I am your host for tonight's meeting. On your screen, you will see a list of our project members, so please go ahead and introduce yourself as well as your relationship to the project, starting with Bruce. Bruce, I think you're muted.
Bruce Littleton, I'm the Deputy Director over Traffic Services and will be responsible for the signs, signals, and markings as part of this project.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Carl Langford, the Traffic Engineering Supervisor and the Traffic Engineer for this project.
Marielle, I think you're muted.
I'm so sorry. Good evening. I'm Marielle Brown. I'm the project manager for this project.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tarek Momika, civil engineer working with the Street Transportation Department, City of Phoenix. I'm the project manager on the 56th Street corridor between Thomas Road to Camelback Road. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I am Jeremy Richter, Capital Projects Management for the City of Scottsdale. I am the project manager for the Thomas Road 56th Street to 73rd Street project in Scottsdale.
Hello, I'm Susan Conklu, Senior Transportation Planner for City of Scottsdale, and I'm the transportation lead for Scottsdale's project along Thomas Road from 56th Street to 73rd Street.
Thank you, everyone. On your screen, right now, you will see how our agenda is laid out. We will begin with our goals and some guidance, and then we will be hosting our first audience poll. So that is where we will need your participation. So keep your eyes on the screen. We'll then review the project area and history and share with you the proposed changes. Then we'll go into another audience poll, and finally, we'll get more community perspective by answering questions live at the end of this meeting. For tonight's meeting, we will be answering questions from the Spanish line first, if any. Then those who asked to be called on during the registration process will be unmuted. And then those who submitted questions during the registration process will get their questions answered. And finally, questions sent to us via the Q&A box will be answered. The chat box is where you can submit your comments, and your comments will be shared with the project team and will also play a role in the final decision of this project. You'll now see an example of what your screen should look like. So take a moment and look at the yellow arrows pointing to red circles. Click in those areas on your own screen so that your chat box and your Q&A box open up. In a similar fashion, the poll will also pop up when we get to that stage. So take a moment, look at your screen, and activate these sections on your own. And with that, I will toss this over to Marielle Brown, who is our project manager, to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Vivian, for that wonderful introduction and for being the host tonight. And thank you to the panel members, and thank you to everyone who's here as part of the community. I'm Marielle Brown, the project manager for this project, and I'm very excited to be here tonight to talk about this proposal. Tonight, we're talking about Thomas Road from 48th Street to 56th Street. We have a map here, and we're also highlighting the planned and existing bikeways along Thomas, or that connect to this project. So the path on 48th Street, the 56th Street project, and Scottsdale's Thomas Road project. But before we get into talking about the project, we want to hear, or the proposal, we want to hear from you, the community, on what your connection is to this proposal area. So a poll has popped up in your screen on the right-hand side, and please take a moment to answer it. So how do you characterize your interest in the project area? Select all that apply. A, I live near the project area. B, I use the street to commute to work or school, run errands, access businesses, recreational activities, etc. C, I work at or own a business in the project area. And D, none of the above. And you can write details in the chat box if you would like to share that with us. So please take a moment to check off as many boxes apply to you. And in just a few seconds, when everyone has finished the poll, I'll be able to share the answers with everyone. So Vivian, please let me know when we're getting close to closing the poll.
All righty, and bear with me, Marielle. We are having some technical difficulties with the poll and closing it up. I do see that right now we only have, we're waiting on 6 other individuals who are joining us in the meeting to actually participate with the poll. So you should have seen a poll pop up on your screen, maybe the right-hand side or towards the bottom of your screen. You should have 4 different options to pick from. Let's give them a couple seconds more. I do see that some are now interacting with us, and we really do value your input and your information for us to get a better understanding as to who's joining us today. So a couple seconds more.
All right, thank you so much. Excited to see how the people here connect to the project. All right, great. And it looks like we have 9 people who live near the project area, another 9 who use the street to commute. And we also have 2 who work at or own a business in the area, and then 2 who have none of the above. So thank you so much for letting us know how you're connected to the area. All right, so tonight we are launching the public engagement for this project. This is a public meeting. We are recording it live, and it will be posted on our website. At the same time, we're launching a survey tonight on September 8th, and it will be open through September 25th. That will help us to hear from the community to understand what works best for Thomas Road. And when we wrap up the survey, we'll be able to make a decision and share that with everyone in the fall of 2022. And the update will be shortly after we share the decision. This project, or this section of Thomas Road, is planned for pavement. We anticipate pavement in fall of 2022, and so when we restripe the street after that pavement, this meeting and this public engagement process will help us to figure out how to restripe the street. I do want to be clear that the pavement is planned. What we're talking about tonight is just striping for the street. This won't impact the pavement, but the pavement is definitely coming. All right, this project is part of our Complete Streets policy. The City of Phoenix has had a Complete Streets policy since 2017, and it requires that we design streets with biking, transit, walking, and driving in mind. And so one of the ways that we do that is whenever we pave a street, we look at the opportunity to see if there are updates to the striping that might better suit the community. When we have fresh pavement, the street is a blank canvas, and that is an opportunity to look at updates if appropriate. And this project in particular is exciting because it connects to a couple of other projects that are also adding bicycling infrastructure and enhancing pedestrian connections as well. The City of Phoenix is working on a 56th Street project right now. The entire project is from Thomas Road to Camelback Road. We're in the design phase right now, and construction of phase 1 is anticipated in 2024. This project will add bike lanes, it will improve sidewalks, it will add landscaping, It will also update lighting, pavement, and drainage on 56th Street. So we're very excited for this project. We have the project manager here tonight if there are any questions about this project. And we see this section of Thomas as a potential connection to the 56th Street project, but we want to hear from the community. Scottsdale also has a project coming up on Thomas Road from 56th Street to 73rd Street. And again, we have the Scottsdale staff here tonight as well to help answer any questions about their project when we get to the Q&A. So they are going to update Thomas Road to have 2 lanes in each direction with a center turn lane and bike lane. They are anticipating construction to begin in late 2023. Which brings us to Thomas Road in Phoenix. Tonight we're talking about 48th Street to 56th Street. The first option we're proposing is option A, no changes. And you can see that on your screen right now. This is what the street looks like currently. 2 westbound traffic lanes, a center turn lane, and 3 eastbound traffic lanes. So that would be option A. When we repave the street, we would paint the street as is, and we would coordinate with Scottsdale to make sure that there's a seamless transition between the 2 designs. Option B would be to update the street to 2 lanes of traffic in each direction, keeping the center turn lane and adding bike lanes. This would create a connection to the planned Scottsdale lanes, and it would also connect to the existing path on 48th Street and the future improvements on 56th Street. So those are the 2 options that we're presenting tonight. And to talk about traffic impacts, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Carl Langford, our traffic engineering supervisor.
Good evening, everyone. So thank you for the information, Mariel, about the project. So as we mentioned, really the option is 2 options here. One that's going to be 2 westbound lanes versus eastbound lanes. And then the other one that's going to be option B, 2 eastbound lanes only in the eastbound. Well, let me start again. Sorry. Option A is basically staying traffic as is. Option B is basically taking those 3 westbound lanes and converting them to 2. And so it would be 2 westbound, 2 eastbound lanes. And so anytime we look at this from a traffic perspective, everybody says, okay, you have this capacity for traffic. What's going to happen if you take this away? And so with that, what we do is we go out and we collect some traffic counts, specifically at the traffic signals, because the signals overall control the flow of the traffic on the roadway. And then we have several software items that we can put the information in and kind of optimize the signals and say, okay, what does this do? And so with that, it has actually been a little while since we have collected that type of data on Thomas. And so what we found out is we can actually optimize the signals just with timing changes. Likely traffic patterns have slightly changed over time. There's been a big pandemic that's created a bit of change and whatnot. So we are in the process of implementing those timing changes currently. And so with that, overall, the corridor is going to receive an improvement. Both option A, keeping it as is, and option B, it sees an overall improvement. Now, once we make those changes, and then we come in, because the bike lane change will happen later this fall, depending on your guys' input from the survey, there will be a minor increase overall. And minor is like the worst signal. There's going to be about 3.5 seconds. Now, of course, depending on exact timing and when you get caught by the light, you might experience a little bit more. But from a traffic perspective, it's very minimal impact that this change from 2 lanes to 3 lanes in the eastbound direction is going to have on traffic flow. So next slide, please. So again, just talking about general summary of impacts. So option A is no changes. It's what we call an unbalanced roadway today. There are no bike lanes on the road. And then option B, we're going to balance the roadway. It would be 2 lanes in both directions, maintaining the 2-way left turn lane and any left turns at the signals, with added bike lanes as well. There will be some minimal traffic impacts. Like we said, the worst signal, it's about 3.5 seconds. you know, there will be times, obviously, if there's some construction, things will impact a bit, but overall, this is not a project that creates traffic impact, these changes. So that leads us to a poll question, which should be popping up on your screen here. And really what we're asking is which option works best for you? And so that poll question is basically asking, do you like option A, keep the current design of Thomas Road? So again, that's 2 westbound lanes, 3 eastbound lanes, keeping that center turn lane. And then option B is update the changes, the striping, to be more of a balanced roadway. So 2 driving lanes in the westbound, 2 driving lanes in the eastbound, maintaining that center turn lane, and then also adding bike lanes to each side of the street. So if you guys can go ahead and fill out that poll, and we'll be able to report, at least at the moment, those of you on the call here, what kind of the general sense is from this community. So, and then
Carl,
again, we want.
Sorry about that. Continue.
I was just going to say, again, we're asking people here in the meeting what you are. We also will have a survey that opens up online afterwards. We want everybody to make sure you fill out the survey. If you know some neighbors that aren't able to be on this call, make sure they fill out the survey, because really what we're trying to do is get information from the public, those of you that drive this road, especially on a daily basis.
Alrighty, and also I just received a chat asking about the survey. The survey link will be shared out. I can share that with you now. It's the same website where you registered, so Phoenix.gov/streets/Thomas4856. The survey is live, but we'll share that link through the chat box as well. And with that, I believe we are going to be closing up the poll now. Alrighty, results should be viewable.
All right, so seeing the options they came through now, to let you know, option B currently is basically at 13 votes compared to the general community. We did have a lot of people not actually answer. Maybe you aren't ready to decide. We did have 2 people that said option A is their preferred. And again, this is just preliminary what we're hearing here at the meeting. We're really looking for people to fill out the survey as well. So next slide, and then as go ahead.
Thank you for that. Alrighty, so now with concluding today's meeting, our survey is again up and running on our website. It closes September 25th at 11:45 p.m. So go ahead and share that with your neighbors, any friends in the community. A decision should be reached by this fall, and updates to the roadway should be happening as early as this fall as well. And now that we have concluded our presentation, if we can move over to the next slide, you will see the order that we will be tackling our questions first. So we'll be starting off with our Spanish language line questions. Elsie, are there any questions?
Give me a moment just to confirm.
Absolutely.
I am not getting a response.
Alrighty, thank you. And just as a friendly reminder, the Q&A box is where you can submit any questions. The chat box is where we encourage you to share any comments, opinions, or whatnot, maybe which way you vote. So go ahead and type in your questions in the Q&A box. For those of you who pre-registered to be called on, we do ask that you limit your questions to 2 minutes when speaking so we have enough time to get through everyone's remarks. You will see a timer at the bottom of your screen that alerts you of your speaking time. So we'll go ahead and get started with our pre-registered speakers. So just bear with me while I go down the list. I am looking for a Katharina, and please excuse me if I mispronounce by any chance. I do think you are online with us, so I should be unmuting you in just a few seconds, and you can go ahead and ask your question. Alrighty, so you are unmuted. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, thank you so much. My question about this was, what kind of measures will the city and project folks managing this take to ensure that bike safety is prioritized when implementing the additional lanes, and or alternatively, if no change is made, how will they manage that transition?
Alrighty, someone who can answer that?
I can take that question. As far as this project, what we're looking to do is change out the striping to get rid of that eastbound lane and add in bike lane. At this time, there is not anticipation to add any kind of vertical separation that some people are looking for. But similar to a lot of our roads, it would be a bike lane marked with bike lanes markings and whatnot to provide that space for bikers.
Alrighty, we'll be moving on to Renee. I do not see Renee logged in. I'll keep my eyes peeled for you if in case you join us a little bit later. I'm now looking for Eric. I also do not see Eric online, so we will be skipping over to Brooks, who I do see online with us. You are unmuted. Go ahead and ask your question.
Oh, I don't have any questions anymore. I thought there was going to be parking or something that was put in, but I see that that's not on there. So that was going to be my question.
Correct. Yes. No parking on this project. Alrighty. Well, thank you for still joining us. And
yes, thank you.
Vivian, just to chime in, I want to be clear, there is a small amount of existing parking on Thomas Road in front of an apartment building. We will not be impacting that parking. The curb is recessed to allow the parking, and it'll still be there with option A or option B. But for the vast majority of this project, there is no parking.
Perfect. Alrighty, Tristan, I see you are online with us. You are unmuted. Go ahead and ask your question.
Yep. Okay. So I just want to confirm. I think it was backwards on your slide that phase one of the project is where the schools are, south of Indian School, north of Thomas. Can you confirm, or did something change on the 56th Street project slide that you showed? That's question one. Question two is going to be, I guess it's more along the lines of buffered bike lanes. So this is just striping. There is no buffering of the bike lanes, which is, I'll just say, is kind of cool, because now with all the projects kind of looping together, you can now cut across through Arcadia, down the Greenbelt, cut back over on Thomas, and then go back up the 56th Street project when that's done. So I kind of like the vision of like an exercise loop for Arcadians. That's all my comment.
All right, thanks.
I can address the question. Go ahead, Mariel.
Oh, okay. I was just going to address the question on striping and buffering. So there will not be buffers on these bike lanes. The existing curbs just do not allow the space for us to add buffers. We really only have space to add bike lanes. We do look for that every time we do a striping project, though. And then I can hand it over to Carl. Did you have anything additional?
I was going to address question number 2 as well with the bike lanes, which you did. Again, there's just no room in the street between the two curbs to be able to fit the buffer. Tariq, could you answer that question 1 regarding 56th Street project?
Yeah. Yes, for sure. So, yeah, for the 56th Street, it's between Thomas Road to Camelback Road. So that section between Indian School and Thomas Road will be improved. This is a part of our project. It's under phase 2, which will come first. Phase 2 that we're going to start construction, anticipating by 2024. We are at 15% design plan review right now. Just received the preliminary design with typical sections, considering the safety of the bicycles and pedestrians along that corridor as a priority to redesign and have a new cross section with the new configuration for the lanes and traffic calming devices along the corridor. So Still, as I mentioned, that we are at the preliminary design at 15%. Hopefully, we're going to finalize the design, the 15% design plans within a couple of weeks, and will be presented for the public on October.
Alrighty, thank you for that. I see that, Greg, you are also with us. I will be unmuting you. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, thanks for your presentation tonight. I really appreciate it. Resident in the area and also a fitness fan and a biker. My question had to do with sort of the buffer between the car traffic, vehicle traffic, and bikes. Some of it has already been asked, but are there any studies out there that are available that show the safety of a condition where there's a buffer versus, a situation where there's not a buffer? Like, how does it impact bicycle accidents and outcome of the accidents? I'm just wondering if there's any studies available in that regard. The reason I ask is the obvious, is that the speed along Thomas, and I'm a biker. I'd love to have a nice bike lane there and be able to ride my bike. But as a bicyclist, I just cringe at the idea of, if there's a car coming along at, 50 miles an hour or whatever it might be driving at, and maybe they're not paying attention or we're distracted, if they drift over a little bit into the bike lane that I'm riding in, it's, it's just, that's concerning. And so I just wonder if there's any studies in that regard.
I can address that question. There are several studies that do look at that. Now, whether or not they look directly at a buffered bike lane versus just a bike lane, that I am not aware of. At the moment, a lot of that research is very new, and so a lot of it doesn't have many locations. And so from a research standpoint, the research is not broad and effective to kind of say, hey, we can answer that with statistical confidence that, hey, it improves safety or it does X to safety. I'm sure over years, as more of these get implemented, will happen. As Marielle said, we do try to look for that anywhere we can. Again, this project is simply a paving project that's going to replace the paving. And so our striping lanes are basically a blank slate at that time. And so we're looking at what can we fit in that space. And our option that we're presenting today is the option with just bike lanes and taking away one lane to fit that in. But as far as any safety studies that quantify or anything, that's not there at the moment.
All righty, and we will be moving on to Eric. I see that you have joined us. I will be unmuting you. Go ahead and ask your question, Eric.
Hi, I guess what I put in my comments was I didn't really have a question. I just wanted to show some support for this. I live near 56th Street between Thomas and Indian School, and I've been part of the public discussions around the bike lanes on 56th Street. So excited to hear some progress on that. And yeah, I just would love to see more bike lanes. And I know I would prefer the buffer, but I think even for pedestrians that are walking along Thomas, because it is a bit higher density. There's a lot of apartments along Thomas Road there, especially around that stretch. I just see that as making it even more safe. Even if you're just walking on the sidewalk, it'd be great to have a little more space between the cars and the people there. But yeah, hopefully I'd love to see this improvement and more bike lanes in Phoenix.
All righty. Well, thanks for joining us, Eric. We have concluded our speakers. We do have several pre-registered questions, so we'll go through those right now. Spencer submitted a question saying, a common issue with the bike path is that they are geared towards recreational use with very few destinations along the route. Are there any plans to pair these changes with opportunities for rezoning, upzoning, or infilling?
I can answer that. So this is just a pavement project. It's an opportunity to add to the existing or to add bike lanes to an existing street. We're not the planning and development department, so we're not looking at any zoning changes or any larger land use changes around the area. That being said, along Thomas Road, there are a number of residences right now. There are a lot of apartment buildings. There are connections to transit. There are connections to a path, and granted it's recreational, but it's also used for commuting as well. So we are excited to be able to offer this to all of the destinations, or to offer the opportunity for an option to help people reach destinations along Thomas. But we won't be making any changes to the land use.
Alrighty, and Avion is asking, how will this impact the traffic going eastbound? How will the project team plan on allowing the eastbound businesses to get traffic? How will this project benefit the local residential community?
I can address the question about the traffic. So as far as the traffic goes, what would happen is the third lane at 48th Street would end up a drop lane only to turn southbound at that time, so a right turn only lane. And then it would just be like a lot of roads throughout Phoenix, and it would have 2 bike lanes, 1 on each side, 2 through lanes in both directions, and a 2-way left turn lane. So access to the businesses would basically stay as is, other than a bike lane will be present, so you need to make sure you're watching to make sure there's no bike if you're crossing that bike lane.
Alrighty, and Betty is asking, is this project connected to the spring training park south of Oak? Why here? How will this affect the traffic down 56th Street between Thomas and Oak?
I can answer the why here and then pass it off to Carl to answer the traffic question. So this project is based off of the opportunity to restripe the street presented by our pavement project. So why here is because the pavement needs to be updated, and that gives us a blank canvas to look at what's possible. For this project, there are connections to existing and future bikeways, and of course that connection to Scottsdale as well. So that's kind of the why we're looking at it here. And in terms of traffic impacts, I'll hand that over to Carl.
So I understood the question is basically on 56th Street, how it would necessarily impact traffic. As far as this project being that it's potentially removing a third lane in the eastbound direction, there is minor possibility that some traffic might say, hey, I don't want to be on here. I feel Oak gets me to my destination faster. Our model doesn't say there's going to be any significant delay that we would anticipate traffic to do that. Now, would there be some that their destination is maybe closer to Oak that they maybe turn at 48 because of it? That's a possibility, but the model doesn't necessarily show that would be the case.
Alrighty, and I'm going to quickly go back to Greg, who asked the question. I think you just submitted a comment. I'll go ahead and unmute you. You said that you had a follow-up question, so you are unmuted. Go ahead and ask that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I was just wondering, thinking about half-mile streets such as Osborne Road and other half-milers, what's the thinking with the City of Phoenix and just in cities in general and planning in general on focusing bicycle, bicycle activity on lesser trafficked half-miler streets such as Osborne as compared to Thomas? And then the last follow-up to the first question is, I think it'd be really helpful if the City of Phoenix could do a study or see if other cities have done studies for safety and the results of accidents and the outcome of those accidents in situations where there is a buffer between car and bike traffic. And if there are no studies out there that have already been done by other cities, perhaps the city should do that, not only for this Thomas Road situation, but all the situations around the city where we're putting in these bike lanes. I think it'd be good to understand just, the numbers associated with the cars being that close to people in situations where the cars are moving that quickly. It might be good just to have those numbers. But yeah, thank you for the chance to do the follow-up. Appreciate it.
Vivian, I'll respond to that a little bit in a positive sense. And to Carl's point that there aren't studies, but I do want to take a plug for what just happened with City Council last night, that we have a road safety action plan and we have a Vision Zero goal. And so the concern that's being raised about a buffered bike lane versus a painted lane, will that be part of that if we have crash patterns that are related to one versus the other? That will be part of what gets done as part of the road safety action plan and what gets done as part of the Vision Zero initiative. So to answer the question, yes, I think we're going to go in that direction, but to back to what Marielle said specifically, this is a paving project. There was no opportunity to do anything more than, do you want the 3-2 with turn lane or in the turn lane, or do you want buffered bike lanes in 2 and 2-1-2? And that's just because we have that opportunity. So we're taking advantage with the public's input. We're taking the advantage of the opportunity to do something. But there was not, on a paving project, there's no ability to go by right away to add width to provide that buffered bike lane. Now, if it becomes a problem, we certainly can then do it. It's really a question for the public here: bike lane or no bike lane.
Thank you, Bruce. And to answer the question about the half-mile streets, we do look at half-mile streets for, we look at all of our streets really when they receive pavement for the opportunity to add bike lanes. From a planning perspective, sometimes it's the half-mile street that makes the most sense. Sometimes it's the mile street. Sometimes it's both. When people are bicycling to destinations, when they're trying to get to their transit stop, when they're trying to get home, when they're trying to get to a store, those destinations aren't exclusively on arterials or on collectors or on local streets. For people who are biking, they need to be able to access everywhere in the city. And so we do look for those opportunities to add bike lanes and make sure that people have options to go where they need to go throughout our city. But to address specifically half-milers, yes, we do definitely look at those collector streets as well.
All righty, and so we've gone through our list of pre-registered speakers and pre-registered questions. So now we're moving on to the Q&A section. But I did see Tyler, you wanted to speak, so you are unmuted. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hi there. Sorry, I was trying to manage wrapping up one meeting when this one started, so I may have missed my name being called. But I live in between 48th Street and 52nd Street along Thomas. So I've seen sort of how people use this space. So I think the bike lane thing is awesome. I just wanted to point out, it looks like one of the apartment complexes in between 48th Street and what would essentially be 49th Place. They have a utility golf cart that drives back and forth on the sidewalk there. So I don't know if that's something you guys were aware of and if that influences at all what width may be chosen for the bike path on that side of Thomas. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And then my main concern was about if part of the plan involved increased visibility of the crosswalks where instead of just the 10-foot spaced white striping, if you would do some of the the classic Beatles album artwork cover where it makes it a lot more visible. Just because I know 48th Street in particular, a lot of vehicles seem confused with the fire station and not pulling up all the way to the light, as well as when I personally go for runs or jogs or whatever around the neighborhood, at 48th Street and at 52nd Street, sometimes drivers aren't really, I think they're not aware that the crosswalk is there or something, and that pedestrians have the right of way even if they're waiting to make a left-hand turn or you're trying to walk across. So because of the limited funding scope, I know it's probably limited to just striping. So I saw those as potential opportunities to increase some of the pedestrian and bicyclist safety. And full disclosure, I'm also a registered civil engineer, so that's probably why I'm throwing out terms that you might be surprised that I know. I don't know. But yeah.
Alrighty, thank you, Tyler. Who can handle any of the comments he brought up?
I can handle the golf cart one. I thank you for letting us know. I do not think that anyone on staff was aware about the golf cart. It shouldn't impact the bike lane, and the bike lane will be in the street. It sounds like the golf cart is on the sidewalk, but that's also good to know, and could be an issue. So thank you. I will hand it over to traffic services on the sidewalk striping question.
I can answer the question regarding. So all the crosswalks throughout this project are tied directly to a traffic signal. Our standard is actually a 15-foot wide crosswalk that we put in. We find that does generally provide space for the pedestrian to cross in the road. Are there several driver behaviors that do kind of disobey that at times, especially if it's kind of some turning movements? We do see that at times. If we find some very specific locations that have issues or concerns, we do high visibility crossing as well, or the ladder style crosswalks. So similar to, I think Indian School and 56th Street has that at some of the locations. So again, we can evaluate, I think I caught exactly, it was 48th Street. We can evaluate that and see if it kind of meets our criteria is really how many people are kind of crossing in an area, and or if we have some kind of collision history or something in a location. So we will take a look at that.
Thank you, Carl. So we are moving over to our Q&A questions. I believe that this question was already addressed because Tristan spoke up, and just to verify, is phase 1 of 56th Street project north of Indian School as depicted on the slide? I understood that south of Indian School to Thomas was phase 1. Did we address that, correct?
Let me take this question. So the 56 streets, it's going to be in two phases. Phase 1, it is between Indian School to Camelback, and phase 2, it's between Thomas Road to Indian School. The budget for the project is for the phase 2, and the city is working on to get more fundings.
Thank you. Jeff is asking, I know this is only adjacent to the mentioned projects, but can Phoenix and Scottsdale coordinate a replacement of 56th Street between Oak and Thomas? I do believe that that falls within the city of Phoenix, so we can take your comment and look into it, unless there's more information that someone on the panel already has and can provide for this question. Hearing none, we will move over to another question. How wide will the bike lanes be if those are implemented?
The bike lanes would be 6 feet wide. That's our standard bike lane throughout the city. And that's the space that fits in this area.
Someone else is asking, will signage be included in the project to indicate to drivers to be mindful of cyclists since no buffers can be added?
With all of our bike lane projects, we add kind of our standard signage and striping, so you will have the bike lane sign. We also do the green pavement markings with the bike stencil, basically about every quarter mile to help advise drivers, and there's also signage to indicate that there is a bike lane in place.
Alrighty, and also just a quick reminder, if you have any comments, opinions that you want to share with the project team, since you are attending this meeting, go ahead and put those in the chat box. In the survey, there is also an option for you to write in any other comments or thoughts that you might have, even on the proposals that we are providing. So know that in the survey, you can also make your express very well what you do like or what you may not like. And I believe that this is the last question for the night. Someone is asking, during the repaving, will the businesses have restricted access during the whole project? How long will the access be limited for those businesses?
So for all of our pavement projects, we work to make sure that access is preserved. I am not certain of the exact details, but I do know that before the pavement starts, we will be sharing the details. You know, all of the businesses and all of the buildings along Thomas will get those notifications, and we work to make sure that as much access is preserved as possible as we do the pavement project. And if you have any questions, you can submit it to me, or you can also submit it. Vivian, do you have the contact for our pavement team? I believe it's pavement@Phoenix.gov.
I will double check on that.
Yeah, because that is a good question, and I don't want to share information that I'm not confident on in terms of the pavement logistics.
Yes, and that contact information is pavement@Phoenix.gov. And I'll put that in the chat box where you will also see the link to the roadway safety action plan and also the link to our project website, which brings us to the very last slide of the night. We do appreciate everyone's attendance and your participation. That project webpage already has the survey, and it's live through September 25th. It closes at 11:45 p.m. That project website is Phoenix.gov/streets/Thomas4856. You can also email the project manager with any questions or comments at bike@Phoenix.gov. Again, that survey also gives you an option to provide comments as well as voting whichever way you feel is best for the community. So with that, we thank you for participating in tonight's live virtual public meeting. Your input on this project is very important to us in order to move forward in the right direction for your community. So we appreciate everyone's attendance. Thank you so much.